Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abi.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Hey there, girl.
Aw, that's me.
What are you doing?
I'm just sitting here looking at you, looking all fine.
I just got done eating salmon.
Uh-huh.
It just smells fishy in here.
Oh, it smells fishy in here.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what the miracle is? Is that we got you to eat salmon.
That is a miracle. I hate fish.
You hate fish.
I actually don't mind. Well, I don't mind sushi.
Yeah, which is a weird.
But that's because there's a whole bunch of awesome sauce all over
but
it.
you don't get like the normal sushi. You get the special rolls with the crunchy things and the cream cheese and the avocado and the tempura and all of this. And you get extra sauce on all of it. So it's really like a little bit of fish.
It's basically like growing up in Montana when they're like, "Do you want a salad?" I'm like, "Sure." And then they hand you iceberg lettuce and you drown it in ranch.
It's just sauce with a little bit underneath it.
Mm-hmm. Mostly, would you like some fish with your sauce?
I think you just like sauces because that's what you do with your breakfast too. It's like eggs, a little bit of eggs, and a lot of ketchup.
Well, that's a little extreme. But yes, I do like my eggs smothered in ketchup, which people are very offended by.
Yes.
They're like, ugh, why would you put ketchup? But actually, people who grew up in kind of Midwest areas, they had ketchup on their eggs.
You know, I have cousins who grew up in the Philippines, and I don't know if, they grew up in the Philippines, but I don't know if that is related to what I'm going to say, but they used to eat ketchup on rice all the time.
Oh, yeah. I've done ketchup on rice.
Which that is
awesome,
you know what that is? It's basically a cheap version of spaghetti. Like it's pasta and tomato sauce.
I feel like it's my way of cheating and getting my sugar that I want.
Oh, 100%. Ketchup is all sugar.
I'm not allowed to.
Tomatoes are all sugar, and then they add a bunch of sugar in the ketchup. So you're like,
tomatoes are a vegetable. They don't have any sugar in them.
They're fruit.
No. They're vegetable. We all know that.
Obviously.
It is a funny fruit, though. Yeah. Anyways.
I don't eat sauce very much because of that reason.
Oh.
There's so much sugar in it.
Because of sugar? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was a miracle because you hate fish. And so we experimented over and over and over again to find a fish recipe that we could have in our this and tuna salad. I can get you to eat tuna salad.
Yeah, I actually like tuna. I used to eat tuna out of the can. I would literally eat it out of the can and then eat handfuls of spinach for a season.
That is when I married you. You did that. Like that was a meal for you. You just open a can of tuna. You eat no sauce on that. You need sauce for your eggs, but no sauce for the tuna.
I think I lost my ability to smell, so it's no big deal.
I think like at that point you're like, no, this is just healthy. Who needs to taste it? It would literally be handfuls of spinach and tuna and no sauce.
Which oddly, after I learned how to eat spinach like that, I still like it like that.
You do?
I can just grab spinach and eat it and just chew it up. Yeah, I know. A lot of people think that's disgusting. But I have the capacity for that, where other people don't have the capacity to do that.
You know what's...
Do you see how I worked that in there?
You worked it in. No one else is going to know why that was funny.
Abby's like, you're in charge of bantering when we get on here. I don't know what I want to talk about. And I was like, you don't worry. I got this handled.
I got banter for days about
how am I going to work this into it? I'm going to tell you about my disgusting salmon that was smothered in goodness.
You know, just really quick.
It did have apples in it. I love the apples.
I know you're like the apples disguised the salmon. If you can get enough sugar, basically what we're saying is if you can get enough sugar,
I'll eat
get
anything.
rid of any of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But by the way, we're going to be talking about capacity today. That was my little drop there. That was my lead in.
I have the capacity to eat spinach where some people don't.
It makes no sense. What are you going to say? Go.
We'll talk about capacity in a second. But do you know what has ruined spinach for me?
I was trying to think of something witty to say, but no, I do not know.
No quick wit there.
Having to eat it off my body after I've smothered it on me
If you smothered yourself in spinach, it would just be like lots of leaves on top
babe,
of you.
Want some spinach? that is not romantic at all. That's why people use
I would
chocolate
laugh
usually.
so hard though if I walked in, and I hope you do that someday, and I just find you covered in spinach leaves.
That would be funny because people who are like they smother themselves in chocolate. Like, what if they smothered themselves? What if women were like, "Hey babe, want some spinach?" No, I don't. You've definitely made this like not sexy.
That's funny. I wonder if there's like healthy granola girls that would find that attractive.
Oh, if a guy was like, "You want to eat spinach off my chest?"
Eat spinach off. Gross. That's so gross. If spinach hasn't been ruined for you in your life up until this point, we may have just done that for you.
All right, wrap this banter up.
Okay, the spinach that has been ruined for me is because when spinach goes bad and it gets slimy and then it tastes horrible.
Yeah.
Like now I get afraid. Like I've eaten like spinach that had turned a couple times.
Oh.
And then now whenever I eat spinach, the thought of the slimy disgust, it just. Ugh.
Oh, okay. So you literally aren't going to want to eat spinach off me. Now that makes sense.
Now I understand.
It's so
it's
clear.
Your own issues.
Oh.
It has nothing to do with the idea.
You have historic trauma over spinach. So we're going to talk about capacity today.
Capacity.
What does that even mean, Abby?
Yes.
Abby brought this up. She was like, I want to talk about capacity.
Okay, well, this is something that I tell people. Realistic expectations of yourself is one of the number one ways to love yourself. And it's one of the number one things I have to work through with clients is people have unrealistic ideas of what their capacity should be, of what they should be able to get done, of who they should be able to be. Basically, everybody's living thinking they should be Superman.
Oh, the should
Superwoman.
monsters. Quit shitting on yourself.
Quit shitting. And so I have said that on stage before, and people have been like, "You're cussing." I'm like, "No, I said should." Although I wouldn't mind the other. Anyway, so people have, like, especially with Instagram and Twitter, we have all these ideas of what people's lives are like, and then we compare. And so we're always thinking, I should be able to do everything. And oftentimes we don't take into account things that take up our capacity.
Yeah.
So like your capacity changes in every season. So in a season where I'm healthy, I'm going to have higher capacity than in a season where I'm sick. In a season where you're married, you're going to have higher capacity than in a season where you're married with kids.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Because capacity just goes down the tube when you get some kids.
It's not that capacity goes down. It's that you are spending your capacity.
They are such a pain in the butt.
They're capacity suckers.
They just steal all your capacity.
Suck the capacity.
Stop stealing capacity, kids.
You need to start, all of you parents out there, when your kids are like, Mom, stop taking my capacity. No, don't do that. That's not a real thing. But so what happens is, a lot of the ways that people beat themselves up or hate themselves or shut down is because they think they should be able to do more in life than is actually realistic.
Yeah, they've got an unrealistic expectation of their capacity, which, someone like Tony Robbins. Let's talk about that guy real quick. I just want to throw that out.
He ruins everybody's lives.
I hate you, Tony Robbins, so much
but
because I love you so
have a
much.
Crush on you, yes.
You're so wonderful, and I despise you.
Anybody who knows him, we would like to meet him.
Yeah.
FYI.
Hey, I'm just saying, if you know Tony,
send us his way.
Yeah.
Send him our way.
My email is justin@stumballconsulting.com. And, but no, Tony, who's just so brilliant and just crushes life and crushes his finances and just doing all these things that are super amazing. But when you actually do a deep dive and dig into Tony's life, he actually has a
disease.
Yes. I think it's in his brain or around his pituitary gland or something like that.
He actually physically needs less sleep.
Yeah.
Than every other human.
Mm-hmm. Like, he literally was created as a superhero.
Totally. He's like a giant.
He's a mutant.
Yeah.
You can tell, if you know him, you can tell him, I said, hey, Tony, you're a mutant. And it's pretty unfair. But like, when I look at someone like Tony, even historically, even over my own life, especially because I like bringing transformation into people's lives. And he's one of my heroes. I have a lot of different heroes for different reasons. But I looked at it, and a long time ago, I was like, why am I not like why can't I do more and be like Tony Robbins? And he's creating so much stuff. And I literally had to be like, there's a reason that he has more capacity than I do.
Yes.
And there's probably more to it than that. I mean, like,
absolutely,
we could get into all kinds of different reasons, but he already has a foot up because of that situation from what I understand and reading up about him.
Yeah. And the thing about capacity is so many different things factor capacity. So your physical health factors capacity, your emotional health. The emotional health.
Yeah.
So if you're going through depression, that sucks capacity out. Anxiety sucks capacity out. And there's a bunch of different things that affect it. Life events, if there's a lot of drama, even if you're not a dramatic person, let's say you're super steady, but you have a lot of chaos going on around you, that actually takes capacity. It's kind of, when I talk about capacity, you've got to think like your iPhone. When you have a million apps running, they are taking away from your battery life.
Yeah.
I would know that because Justin always chastises me.
I'm always complaining. Oh my God, close some of these apps. You're always worrying about your battery life, and it's because all these apps are running.
But that's like in life. So a bunch of different things take capacity. Yeah. And if people aren't aware of what a realistic grid is for their capacity, they'll constantly beat themselves up for things they don't have control over.
Absolutely. And so one of the major perpetuators of, how do I put it? Almost like being dissatisfied with your capacity is your relationship with comparison.
Yes.
And comparison is this monster that enters into your life and says, yeah, well, you know, you're talking about the shoulds. Well, shoulds can only exist when you're in this relationship with comparison, and you're saying, what should my life look like? Mm-hmm. Who are people around me, and what are they accomplishing and doing, and what life do I think I have to have?
Well, and when I, like the last 3-year season I've talked about before, was just set, now we're not in that season anymore, but from I think 2016 to 2018, so 2-year season, was so intense for me.
Yeah.
And there was so many things that happened. My mom and dad got divorced, and I got put in charge of her. I had to figure out her finances for Medicare and Medicaid, and I had to be in charge of moving her to assisted living place, and now I'm in charge of her legally, and then a million other things like that happened. Justin was dying, then he came back to life. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Woo! I'm alive.
And there's just multiple things, and we talk about, I've talked about it. I don't want to go into it all the way. There was some things that happened in my friendships that were really painful in that process. I was feeling sick, and so I remember in that season, I would consistently feel like, Justin, I'm failing at everything. Look at all these people that are doing so much with their lives. And over again, you would have to relist to me. Let's look at what is realistic.
What your life is like right now.
You're spending you're spending 20 hours a week having to think through your mom's finances. And having to work through all of her accounts and going through years of that. You're spending this many hours having to do doctor's appointments, not to mention the emotional toll of. And you would go through and actually list out everything that I was going through, and you had to do that consistently.
Oh yeah, because it was pretty easy for you to forget the reality of everything that you were taking on. I think that for a lot of people, whether it's their current life or it's their history, they're not really self-aware of what they've been through and currently what they're going through and what they're taking on. And so, and it's very easy to forget and get lost in like all the doing and stuff like that. But I think that that's a huge part of living a healthy and connected life, is to sit back and go, hey, where have I come from historically? Mm-hmm. Where am I now? What is actually going on inside of my life? Self-awareness is so powerful.
Because even in that season, some of my self-awareness was, this is pushing all of my childhood triggers. That takes capacity.
Yeah.
Dealing with all of my childhood pain while dealing with all of the logistics, that is hard. And I remember in this season, and I tell people to do this, like I unfollowed 1 million people on Instagram. Any woman who was doing anything like ministry or starting a company or a business or a podcast that I'm friends with. And I like love being friends with powerful women.
Yeah.
It's really like all my friends are very powerful. I unfollowed all of them because I was like, I can't. Every time I see somebody accomplishing something, I feel like a complete failure as a human But that's not right for this season.
Totally.
I'm actually not a failure. Like, I don't have the energy to start
And
anything
I can't
in our
manage
business.
my mind well enough when I see your pictures to continue to follow you. Love you, but bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Now they have mutes, which would have been so much better. Because I'm like, I bet all my friends were like, why don't you follow me? I bet they got like offended.
Totally.
But it was really for my sanity. I had to, because I didn't have any extra capacity to build something. To do something. And so part of self-love, I could hate myself every time I see them.
Yeah.
I could beat up on myself every time I see them. Or I could actually just embrace where my capacity is for this season. And now the season has changed and I've like refriended them. I'm like,
oh, that's so good. That's so nice of you. Well,
I'm sure they're like, well, are we just becoming friends?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up a second because I want to talk about the difference in our capacities coming into the relationship, what that looked like early on, and the pitfalls that we had, so to say, in not realizing each other's differences and capacities and the differences between doers and beers, and we're going to talk about a doer and a beer.
Yeah.
Which Abby made up the beer.
Everybody wants to be a beer.
A beer.
Because you can drink you.
A beer.
Okay, so there's doers and there's beers in the world. And I'm just going to set this up and then we're going to talk about, like you said, what our relationship was like meeting. So doers are the people, they have a high ability to compartmentalize. And they can just get stuff done.
Love those people.
They like can.
They're the only ones with any value. They make life go round.
They make the
They're
world
successful.
happen.
They're the best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they can shove their emotions to the side for the sake of achieving, for the sake of getting a lot done, for this, to accomplish things. And accomplishing things gives them value. Yeah. And so if you love the Enneagram, like 3s are doers, 8s could be doers, sometimes 1s could be doers. I'm trying to think of, I'm sure there's more, but just if you like Enneagrams.
Yeah. I don't even care. I don't even care.
But some of them will enjoy that.
I just checked out.
Yeah.
What were you talking about?
Anything?
Yeah. I want to do something.
And then there's the beer personality.
Yeah. They're the lazy people who do nothing and accomplish nothing with their life. They're a drain on society.
Mm-hmm. So beers are like, oh, I just want to connect to myself. I want to know what I'm feeling. Let's sit back and have fun. Let's make sure that we have deep connection, relationships. Like, let's go enjoy life.
You're boring me.
Yeah. They're like, they could be the romanticists or they could be, like probably 4s are much more beers and, lots of the numbers could swing either way depending on your personality. But
really, the only purpose they serve is to get in the way of doers.
9 are beers. Yes. So there's these 2 different kinds of personalities.
And they really hate each other usually.
Well, yes. So you are...
if you haven't guessed by now... I'm historically a doer.
Yes. Tell us about like that mindset, where you came from.
Well, I mean, I was playfully joking around about the awesomeness of doers and how horrible beers are. Beers.
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 Bears. Bears. The bears.
The beers. So I grew up in a household of doers.
Yeah.
Mom and dad were getter-doners. Mm-hmm. And it actually was pretty amazing. It felt so good to accomplish. We could accomplish tasks. And we were always like, I remember one summer I worked with dad and we accomplished in 4 months of working together with the crew that I had hired and brought in. We accomplished in 4 months what would take most people 8 months worth of work. No joke.
Of course you did.
No joke. And we were, and the whole
and it felt like gold to you.
And all the guys that I hired were like, we did 8 months in 4 months.
It's addictive. Like it's adrenaline boosting.
Yeah, and it felt like super awesome. And we felt awesome about ourselves.
You have endorphins. You're like, we're the best.
And part of our identity as a doer is that accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Like you'd said, like everyone in our family felt like we all felt really special, and then the people that we worked with all felt really special and superior to everyone else.
Superior, so true.
Because we were like, we don't let emotions get in our way.
Totally.
I remember one guy came on a job site one week, and I'm telling you that like the physical labor that now when I look back, I'm like, how did any of us do that? And that's insane. But we were working so hard. A guy came on. He's in his 40s.
Yeah.
And we did one day with him. And at the end of the first day, he said, I'm sorry, this job isn't for me. I can't move. And he quit.
I can't move.
And we were like, I remember like all of us sat around, all of us guys, and we were just kind of
joked about him.
Oh, we were trash talking him so bad. What a pansy. Yeah.
You can't handle this.
Yeah. What's wrong with him? And then we thought we were so awesome. But again, part of that's part of the whole excitement of being a doer. So I come into the relationship as a doer, and it felt powerful that I could shut down emotions.
Oh, yeah.
It felt beautiful that I didn't need help from someone else, and I didn't need to stop my entire day to feel something out.
Totally. And I think doers, because they so value getting things done, they actually run past their capacity, and they run over themselves often, but they get such a feeling of being high from accomplishing that for a while they can run over themselves for a long time without noticing it.
Yeah, and one of the things that you find out as a doer in a doer environment is no one feels nurtured.
No, totally.
I mean, I remember one time, multiple times, I almost cut off my finger twice on work, and I remember my dad being like, "Well, did you cut it off?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I took a massive chunk out of it." And he was like, "Well, you know where the electrical tape is. Go tape it up. We got to get this done.
We got to do this stuff. It's not like, does it need stitches?"
You know what's funny is at the end of the day, I remember feeling at that time awesome because I didn't need to go to the hospital because I just wrapped it in tape, and eventually the whole part of that finger grew back, which was a miracle.
That's amazing.
I don't even know how that happened, but.
Superiority.
But inside of that,
freaking boss.
Yeah, but inside of that, when we reflect, nobody felt nurtured. Like everyone, there was building resentment inside of the doer society. We'll call it the doer society. The doer society has secret resentments towards each other. Yeah. Because no one feels cared about by anyone else. And all of us are on an island, a survival island. And occasionally you go to someone else's survival island and you participate to accomplish the doing. But when it comes to the heart island, you're back on your isolated island going, yeah, I felt only close when I accomplished the task.
Totally.
Otherwise, I feel really lonely. And that's something that doers have a really, really big problem with is loneliness.
Yeah. And so it's not the typical loneliness. I want to say when you say things like loneliness, most people think like, I don't have any friends. I feel lonely. I feel bored. No. It's that inner feeling of I'm alone in the world is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And so you feel really powerful at accomplishing life, but you feel very powerless at conquering your emotions.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I say that, like, a doer would be like, no, I'm powerful with my emotions. I don't feel them at all.
Totally. Exactly. Yes.
But really deep down inside, when doers get put in a season where they're put on pause,
oh man,
they have complete meltdowns, like life breakdowns, because all of a sudden they have all these emotions they've never dealt with, and they go, I don't know what to do with these emotions. I can't stuff them any longer. I'm not powerful. I'm powerless.
Totally.
And that's what happens for doers.
And not only that, they're like, who am I?
Yep.
Do I have any worth? Am I special? I'm not special anymore. Mm-hmm. The specialness got taken away from me. That's why it's so dangerous to put your personal worth in something that can be removed.
Yep. And I've met with professional athletes, and they are no longer a professional athlete. And the minute they stop being a professional athlete, who are they? Self-implode.
Oh, absolutely.
All of a sudden, because they go, my whole life was being an athlete. I'm nothing. I'm worthless. And heavy depression hits them all of a sudden. And they're having to actually find their worth outside of their doing for the first time in their life.
Now, I will say, like, I love doers because they add a lot to my life. And I'm going to talk about the good.
Damn right they do. I mean, I do. I mean, they do. Yeah.
I mean, like, doers actually, they showcase I always say emotions are like kids. You cannot throw them in the trunk, which is what doers do.
But you can, and it's hysterical listening to them scream to get out.
Justin. That's like what most of our marriages is, you making jokes and me being like, oh my gosh. But you cannot let them drive your car. And so beers can sometimes let their emotions drive. And so doers are a great counterbalance. So when we got married, you'd been working since you were 13.
Yeah.
like on every summer.
Yeah, if I wasn't
weekends.
at school, I was working. I was working in the weekends or in summer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you were always doing. Your whole family valued that. Now my life was.
And as a side note, again, I said earlier when I talked about lazy, like literally beers. Anyone else that wasn't doing was considered just a lazy POS.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember you having those emotions towards me 100%.
It's very judgy.
It's very, you were one of the most judgmental person that I knew.
But we're going to find out that beers are just as judgy.
Okay. So I grew up in, I don't actually know what I would have been if my body and mind would have worked. Like, so I've had chronic health issues since I was a little kid. And then I was dyslexic and didn't know it. But so from a very young age, I had less capacity than other people.
Yeah.
And I was aware of it. When I was in high school, I got in a car wreck. I couldn't sit or stand for longer than 30 minutes at a time. I couldn't push a shopping cart. I mostly was laying down for most of my high school experience. Had to quit every sport that I had been in. And I remember having that crisis because sports had been my life and that's what I had been known for. And I liked it. And now all of a sudden I'm just laying every day. But it's almost like chronic sickness beat the doer out of me. Because I'm like, well, I can't win at that.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to hate myself at doing. And so I can't do that. And so I kind of just switched to, okay, I'm going to enjoy being. And that was my option. Like, how do I love my life while I'm laying on a couch for hours every day? Okay, I have to enjoy being. I have to enjoy thinking, having conversations with people.
Which is where you actually just, were able to cultivate the concept that success for the day could have been loving yourself well, having the conversation. You learned how to redefine success completely inside of that, which is something I really admire and was one of the greatest gifts that I ever got from you.
Yeah, I figured out in that season how to change my capacity. So like, okay, I accepted I can't do these things. I'm not going to hate myself because I can't do those things. Right. I'm now going to learn how to accept myself with my limitations. And I think lots of people fight limitations so long because they have judgments on limitations instead of how can I thrive within my limitations. And so I learned to thrive by caring about being. And because I was dyslexic, like one of the symptoms, like what are those words? Like one of the problems of dyslexia, one of the
byproducts of dyslexia.
Sure. You know how diseases have different things?
Symptoms.
I guess. Is that the word?
I don't know.
I'm having a dyslexic moment right now.
I don't know. What do you want from me? Just use your words and talk.
Okay. So one of the symptoms is that I can't put things in an order. So I can't I could look at a kitchen and see all the things that need to be cleaned and then feel paralyzed because I don't know what order should I do it in. Should I clean the dishes first? Should I wipe off the counters first? Should I do I remember having to have somebody literally sit in my room and tell me step by step, now just pick up all your dirty clothes. No, don't do that. Now just do that, and dyslexia is similar to ADHD. They have very similar things where you can just ping pong around and never get anything done. And so I show up into marriage with a lot of defeat from my body. Yeah,
which is a byproduct that happens for a lot of beers. They actually have extreme defeat in major areas of their life.
They feel like a failure in some way, and so the way that they cope with feeling like a failure is by I'll just embrace that this is as good as doing.
Yeah.
Like that my strengths are as good as doing. I was meeting with somebody the other day who's very artsy and creative, which I love, but decided ambition's bad.
Yeah.
And so being is much better than the people who are on the hamster wheel. And so I think both groups are looking down at the other group.
They absolutely are, to make up for the deficit.
Yeah.
And the deficit for the doers is they're scared of their emotions, so they run and accomplish. And the beers are scared.
They don't know how to compartmentalize their emotions.
Yeah, and shut them down and actually go accomplish something. So they just decide that, accomplishers are just a bunch of monsters.
Yeah. And oftentimes what happens is we go to the extreme of whatever we are. And
it's true.
Anytime you're in an extreme, you are a monster.
Yeah.
An extreme doer is a monster. An extreme beer is a victim. It's just true. The middle ground is the best place. So we get married and it's a mess.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I remember I said this before, but I watched you, even your meltdown and trying to pack a suitcase just to leave on our trip. And I remember having this feeling like it's broken. I married this thing and it's broken, and I didn't know it's broken.
I want to return it.
I can't.
There's no receipt.
I can't return it. What did I do? Ah! And I remember early on just thinking, like, you know, in the back of my head, what an idiot. What kind of idiot can't pack a damn suitcase?
It's so true.
And so there was a lot of judgment inside of it. But as the months unfold in our first 6 months of travels, all of a sudden life gets put on pause.
Oh, yeah. So you're screwed.
And I can't be a doer.
You can't be a doer. And I'm like, whoa, this is the best.
And
we're having fun every day. We're bonding. We're working through our stuff.
And Abby's totally thriving. And
yes.
I'm just, wishing that I could turn to alcohol to just end the daily suffering that was happening. Because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I have no point in life. Everything's horrible.
Yeah.
And it's true. All of a sudden, like the strength of the beer, all of a sudden started helping heal the doer.
Yeah.
Because the beer all of a sudden is like, hey, you know what? Today you are successful. You conquered something with me.
Totally.
You overcame a fear inside of you.
We were connected to life today.
Uh-huh.
We were present. We engaged.
And I was like, shut up with your hippie crap. I don't need to hear it. I need to figure out a plan to get out of this.
That's not even fake. That's exactly what it was like.
But I slowly started submitting and letting go of control. Part of the process of me being a doer is the deep need for control. And I had to let go of control of trying to control my value.
Yeah.
Trying to, I have to do something. If I can control doing something, I can control whether or not I'm valuable for the day.
Whether or not I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
But really, it's funny because it makes you feel in control of value. Like if I do these things, then I feel like I'm in control of value. But you're actually out of control.
Right.
Because you don't get to feel valuable no matter what.
Yeah.
Your value is dictated on if you produce enough.
Right.
Which that can become impossible in seasons.
And at some crossroads, really, that was what the idea of having your identity built or discovering your identity.
Yeah.
Identity had to be like, I couldn't find who I was and what I did.
Right.
I had to find who I was and in the idea of who created me.
Yeah.
I had to actually find out, there's an unconditionally loving creator that loves me and says that I'm lovable right now when I'm not doing. And now I have to embrace just being. And that if I only be the rest of my life and I don't end up doing, that I'm still lovable.
Yeah.
And I'm still a valuable human being. And I'm still valuable as a man.
And the truth is, and this is real for most seasons in our lives, you had to eat your judgments.
Yum, 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 yum.
Nom, 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 nom. Like
Tasty judgment.
We normally hang ourselves. Like our own judgments come against us.
Oh, they do come back around.
So here you have all these judgments like beers are lazy, POSs, they don't do anything. They don't have any value on the planet. And now you're having to be a beer. And you're like, I'm lazy. I'm a POS. I have no value.
Because judgment, if we were to, if we were to look at judgment as a human being, that same human being that's going to beat up, Abby is going to turn around and come beat me up
you.
when I'm in her shoes at some point.
And I think like one of the things I also added to you as a beer is I think I had a better idea of what was realistic for capacity. So if we go through our marriage years after that, there were times when I was like, I think that you're doing too much. And you were like, no, I'm good. Until you ran yourself into a nervous breakdown.
That's real. I don't need your sense and sensibility. You can shut it.
Yeah. And so like, I actually think as a beer, I'm almost like a gauge in your car letting you know.
Really? Yeah.
Like, hey, this is actually I can see you're running over your emotions. I can see, it's awesome that you can shove them in a pile and be like, I'm tired. It doesn't matter. I'm going to push through. But like actually my ability to submit to those emotions helps you not ruin your life.
Absolutely. Well, now let's talk about you being a beer.
Yeah. Okay. So when I got married, I will say that lots of people who are beers have defeat and victim mentality.
Yeah,
like
where at every crossroad, one of our biggest battles with you early on was you being like, I don't know how to do this and it's not going to work out. And I'm like, it is not that hard. We can just figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, you would say that all the time. Like, actually cleaning the kitchen is not that hard. Actually packing the suitcase is not that hard. I remember in our first year, you being like, there were times even when I was like, I feel so sick. And you're like, you still are capable of doing this.
Yeah.
And that sounds harsh to people, but there's two different things in life. There's knowing your capacity, but then there's actually like living under it, which you become a victim, you lose self-worth. And beers often have self-worth issues because we are meant to do things.
Yeah.
It feels powerful to do things. We're not meant to find all of our value from that. Mm-hmm. But like, I remember when I laid on the couch for 4 years in high school, there was some parts of my self-esteem that no matter how much self-talk I could give myself, no matter how kind I was and compassionate and how much I changed my version of success, there's some parts of self-esteem that just don't show up until you're doing something.
And you can see that you're powerful, capable, able to overcome.
Yeah. And I actually wonder if lots of beers have like, maybe they have ADD or they have dyslexia or they have something or they didn't learn something and then they feel behind, and because they never feel empowered to learn how to do it, they just back away from doing.
Yeah.
So there's so many times that you would have to be like, okay, you can learn this. Just because you don't know how to do this, you can learn this. And I recognized that self-worth issues and trauma, because victim mentality keeps trauma in your life. You keep feeling small. You keep feeling like everything's too big for you. So the place where beers listen to emotions, by listening to emotions all the time, we actually like feed the emotions. So then the emotions continue to grow to be bigger instead of actually knowing like sometimes I need to feed these emotions and take care of them. Sometimes I need to ignore them and just get something done. And oftentimes doing something has pulled me out of the emotional swirl that I'm in.
Yeah.
Like it's actually pulled me out. And so when we got married, there was so much of, we were doing life together and I would watch you. And this is one of the things that if I could tell people that one of the best ways to live a healthy life is to see that people that are opposite of you are meant to bring you strength.
Yep.
So I didn't hate that you were a doer. I thought, I'm going to let this inspire me. I'm going to I'm going to learn more from him about doing. And I would ask you all kinds of questions.
Hold on a second. Don't you think you despised my doer a little bit in the beginning? Like I a little bit despised your beer?
I despised your judgment towards me.
Oh, because it definitely felt like you despised the fact that I wanted to do something.
No. I think I despised. I mean, I did despise that you would choose doing over having relationship with me. Like, because I remember when we were dating, you'd be like, I need to iron now. Get out of my house. And it'd be like, I just got there. I was like, in LA, it took me an hour to get to your house. I've been here for like a half hour. And you're like, I need to iron now. Get out of my house. Because you
say iron as if I was always ironing. Like you just made up ironing. I remember one moment where I was like, hey, I got to get ready for this big trip I'm doing. And I have to iron all this stuff. And I need focused attention to accomplish this.
You always had a list. And so you could put the list above relationship. So I despised that part of it.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
The part that hurt me.
Yeah. But we eventually started getting past our judgments or our pains or whatever. And we started finding
this balance.
And this value for what's there.
I would look at you and I want to say this to people who are listening who aren't married. Because I've had as much of this in friendships as I've had it in my relationship with Justin. I have several friends that are doers, that are my best friends. And I think I'm drawn to them because I like the difference that they add. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I watch them and I'm like, they can compartmentalize this. Okay, they think that planning this trip is easy. So let's figure out how they think about it. Because I'm like, I want to learn from you. I want to be around you and become more like you. And so whether you're single or married, the goal is learning to not despise the gifts of the people around you and actually pull on them to become the most balanced version of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I would ask you all kinds of things. Tell me what is your emotional process about cleaning the kitchen? Like when you see this dirty kitchen, what are you thinking? And you would say,
not a big deal. I can see that I'd start walking step by step. I can just see what I need to do here and here. I need to clean these pans, wash this, dry this. This is going to probably take 10 minutes to do that.
Then I can go have the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. And we had to work on this a lot because mine would be like, let's connect and then we'll get to chores later. And you'd be like, let's do chores and then connect later.
And even for me, I'm looking at, there's more. If like I talked about how my process was, if I accomplish these tasks up front, then I don't have the looming energy, like an app running in the background of, at some point I'm going to have to then take care of that when I'm already wore out and everything. And I wanted to make the space for just to have fun and do whatever I want without the app.
But I'm looking at it being like, this is a perfect time to connect. I want to connect while we have energy. So that we actually bond, and then working together will be more fun when we are already connected. So we both had different approaches, but the idea was valuing the other approach and figuring out how to come towards the middle.
Right. And so part of it, going back into the idea of capacity, when we're talking about the ideas of seasons of capacity, some seasons you're going to have capacity to just be a doer. You're not going to have capacity to just be. And some seasons you're going to have a capacity to be, but not really do. And they're going to ebb and flow, but they can still live in balance. You don't have to only be a doer. You don't have to only be a beer. You can actually go, in this season, there's a little less that I can actually accomplish outwardly. Yeah. And I'm going to actually figure out how to find peace right where I'm at and be with myself and connect to my emotions.
I think that when you went through being sick, it was like you all of a sudden understood my world.
I did. I really, really did.
You all of a sudden, and then it felt like you had value for the beer part of me and for the
I had value for boundaries. It prior to that.
No, on a very deep level.
I mean, I had deep compassion where I was like, I really, really get it. This is all you can, because all of a sudden to even another level, like early on in marriage, our first year, the doer got killed as far as being able to work because we weren't working.
Yeah.
But now the doer was killed on every other level. I really can't work. I really can't even connect with people. I don't have the capacity
to make working. So that's...
Well, I was doing little bits of work.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of work to survive. And then I couldn't make phone calls. Totally. I couldn't hang out. My energy capacity was gone completely. And I had to be okay inside of that and just go, well, what was I able to do today? I got out of bed and I made it to these sessions.
Yep.
And I was able to have some connection with Abby.
And so actually when you recognized my capacity is less, you were able to beat yourself up less.
Well, yeah, because the greatest torment that kept escalating is in any season where I can't fully be a doer is this...
I'm failing.
Yeah, I'm failing. And one of the biggest emotions I had with relationships, because now it was more relationships. Before I could handle relationships when I wasn't working early on in marriage, I still could do relationship. Yeah. All of a sudden, I couldn't do the relationship component.
When you were sick.
When I was sick.
Yeah.
And I had this initial judgment where I'm like, I feel this shame. I can't call people back. I'm not hanging out with them. I'm not making it to birthday parties and all this stuff. And so I literally had to start talking myself through, hey, this is all you have the capacity for. And if people don't understand, they may not. They may go on misunderstanding you. They may go on being hurt by you. And I had to accept that people were going to be hurt. They were going to feel failed. They were going to feel disappointed. And I had to accept this is where I'm at. This is who I am for this season. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that was part of loving myself well, was being able to take a healthy assessment of my capacity.
So I think I helped you be able to accept a human capacity, because your capacity was like, I should be able to push.
Right.
And I think I helped you to be able to accept human capacity. And I think you helped me grow my capacity. Like you helped me learn.
Oh my gosh, you're an ass kicker now.
Oh.
There's literally if you guys watch this woman, she'll take on so many projects where it scares me, everything that she's doing. And I'm like, I need you to slow down. I need you to stop. stop being Justin because you're going to go into a meltdown if you keep doing anymore. And I'm literally having to tell her, you're doing a lot.
Right. And that's the funny thing.
Even in my eyes.
Is because I am, and I think this is something that I'll work on the rest of my life, because I've become much more of a doer since I met you, wouldn't you say?
Right, because you become powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was totally up to me, but there was something where we conquered defeatism inside of your soul.
And victim mentality.
Yeah, and so you're like, I don't know, I'll figure out how to do it. I'll ask people questions. I'll hire the right people.
Yes. But so I'm constantly doing the balance, especially with being sick. Like I can see, like even this week, I haven't felt good. I've had multiple infections. It's been really frustrating. And so I'm taking good care of myself, and I'm just being, I'm not doing as much. And there's always a line of where it's really good for me to do that. And then it's like it crosses over into a line where I'm just going into a depression pit where I actually need to make myself do something even though I don't want to. And so I remember and that's the thing about capacity. It's not a black and white.
Nope.
It's ever changing.
Yep.
And so it's always having to be connected with yourself enough to know what's happening. So I take a couple days where I just am relaxed and enjoying, and then I can feel myself going into the pit. So on Sunday, I was like, no, I'm going to go for a walk with somebody. I'm going to invite somebody over to play games. Like I'm going to do things that force me to show up in life again.
Yep.
In a deeper way. I'm going to go to work on Monday. The goal is the balance of being and doing.
Yep.
And it is a hard balance to find. And I always think of it, somebody told me this once. They said that airplanes I've never looked it up, so I don't know if it's true, but it's a great analogy. The airplanes don't fly straight. They don't fly like an exact straight, but they have like kind of like bumper lanes kind of so if they start to go off course to the left, it would like beep at them. And if they start to go off course to the right, it'd beep at them. So they just course correct whenever they get.
Yeah, it's just slow course corrections.
Yeah, they just keep course correct. So it's kind of like a little bit of a weaving all the way to where they go. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's true. If you're an airline pilot, you can let me know. But so one of the things that I do is I'm like, okay, I've been doing really good at doing this week, but I've actually overdone it. I've got my superhero. I think I call it superhero syndrome, where you realistically forget all of the things you're doing. You compare to social media, or you just feel like you should be able to. And so I'll be like, oh no, I'm becoming a superhero. That's not what I'm supposed to do. I'll course correct back to being, and then I might be like, oh, I'm being too much, like I've just kind of gone into defeat and done nothing land, and so I will like course correct back, and I just kind of feel that it's like an ebb and flow.
Exactly. Ebb and flow is a great way to put it. There's another part of this that I actually want to tackle really quick with we don't have tons of time left, but the idea of my historic capacity, we brought up a little bit about that. One of the biggest problems that I have when people come into my office, when they talk about where they should be emotionally, where they should be at in life, right? They come in and they're like, I'm 37 years old and I'm still not married and I haven't accomplished these things.
Right.
And they have a meltdown and they're like, and I've been working for the last 5 years trying to overcome these things inside of my heart. And one of the things that I have to consistently do with them is go, hey, let's look at your history. Let's go back to your childhood. Mm-hmm. What was your childhood like? And we start digging around in their childhood and we go, oh, there were some massive hurdles. For instance, I'm going to talk about this one guy. He listens and I won't say his name. I love him so much.
He'll get a kick out of it.
He'll smile.
You know who you are.
You know who you are, guy. But you
could be our client. We could talk about you on our podcast too.
Mm-hmm. So he, he'll appreciate the shout out. So he comes into my office and I've been meeting with him pretty regularly for the last couple of years. And one of the things in his history, well, let me say this. He's in his late 20s now. He came in his mid 20s and he currently is married, owns a business, owns a home, all this great stuff, and he has a huge problem with the fact that he hasn't done more with his life. And I'm like, what? You own a business, you own a home, you're married. Most millennials aren't even going to think about that stuff until they're 40. But he was like, I just feel so behind. And
Which
I was
I
like,
think this is everyone feels that.
yeah, everyone
like
is always feeling behind as if there's
so bad.
Especially when you see on television and stuff like that. Like they were 15 years old and they hit it big on American Idol. And everyone knows them and they're multimillionaires.
Oh, yeah. I don't think in the older generations there was any idea that you should have that much by that age.
Oh, I don't think so at all. I mean,
like the status quo.
I haven't talked to an old person lately, but I'm sure that's true. I need some more old people in my life. They're asking, what's your definition of old, Justin? 55.
Oh, Justin. That's not old.
But anyways, so we're having a conversation about his history. And when he was a young kid, his dad died.
Wow.
His dad died at 12. And then his mom immediately got cancer. Oh. And then she was trying to survive cancer.
Oh, yeah.
So they were immediately spun out in survival mode, trying to survive the cancer, trying to survive dad's death, and not even knowing what to do with all of that. And, you know, part of the conversations I've been continually having with him is like, your history, most people in your shoes, losing their dad, having their mom get cancer to the point where, oh, I could lose my mom as well. All of that is massively traumatizing, but you don't actually have a reality check of how painful or traumatizing that is, and that most people don't have to go through that. So all these other friends of yours that you're comparing yourself to, that they're further along in whatever areas that you're considering them further along in, or that they know more than you in, they actually didn't have these hurdles. You climbed Mount Everest.
Right.
Like and he's in my office being like, we've been working for the last couple of years and shouldn't I have all these problems already figured out? And I'm like, oh my God, the fact that you're even in my office and you're not a drug addict.
Yes.
The fact that you've even chosen, the responsibility of marriage and wanting to take on a business.
Oh yeah.
And I've had those conversations where I'm like, by statistically having a father out of your life, losing him like that, and I go down all the list, statistically you actually should have maybe multiple women pregnant and you should be an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Right.
And so as he's building perspective, all of a sudden he goes, oh, you know what?
I've gone through a lot.
I've gone through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can validate that. I can validate that, and I can be proud of myself that I am making these decisions. And now if he wasn't married and he didn't have the home and the business, there's still many reasons for him to still validate. Just the fact that he's in my office.
Right.
Let's just start there. You chose to come into my office after this great of depth of pain, loss, suffering, and then you're letting another man into your life that could potentially just get ripped out of it like your dad was.
Yes.
And so, but we don't want to do that because oftentimes we're really scared of being victim-y.
Yeah, pity.
Like, pity. I don't want to pity myself. I don't want to make excuses. And I'm like, it's not about making excuses.
It's a realistic acknowledgement.
Yes. Pity is really it's acknowledging your problems, believing that you're powerless to solve it.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, but when you're able to go, oh no, this is really a problem. Mm-hmm. And I have the power to overcome and I'm working towards that, then that's healthy.
Yeah.
That's healthy self-reflection in my eyes.
Well, and I know that this had, I had a huge revelation of this myself. I remember I was in an office with a counselor and I'm talking through my high school experience and I'm telling them how much of a failure I felt. I told you I was high on pain meds for most of high school. Between my chronic health issues and being in the car wreck, I was high on pain meds, not purposefully, like accidentally. I was just in so much pain. It was the only way.
And then it was always, you had to always take them.
I didn't know I was dyslexic back then, and I was homeschooling, and nobody was actually in charge of it. Like I was in charge of it.
You were literally teaching yourself.
I was teaching myself. So
which kind of makes you a savant.
Well, I had a really hard time holding myself to, like, I was not good at like making my assignments due on time. I didn't have a good timeline. So I felt behind my whole high school season. I felt like I was less than everybody else because it's so hard for me to teach myself and make myself do everything. Which
doesn't even make sense. Like right now, as you hear it, like the whole point of a teacher is that a child can't
teach themselves.
No, they need information from a teacher to teach them.
But I didn't know any of that. And so I so believed I was stupid and less than because of that. I spent years working through that. I went to college. I got great grades in college. I remember one of my college professors telling me that I'd written one of the best papers he'd ever read.
Wow.
I felt so stupid.
Wow.
Like every class I had huge anxiety so I had this definition that I was stupid. And so my counselor is like, hey, it sounds like you have an unrealistic idea of what your capacity, like just being in that much pain and being on pain meds, like nobody can self-medicate, like nobody can be in charge of themselves while they're also trying to survive. Like you're not going to be able to set your own boundaries and deadlines. Yeah. And you needed an adult to actually know what was going on in your world. You needed somebody outside of you. Like you were in 9th grade. You didn't have those skills. You hadn't learned life skills yet of how to create to-do lists and how to not be overwhelmed by things. Of course you felt that way. And it was like, I saw this picture of me running in a race and I had been like missing one of my legs. And I had been mad this whole time that I was behind in the race. I'm like, they're all ahead of me. I'm behind everyone. I'm behind every other student in high school, which is not true. I've met them. But I'm behind everyone in high school. I'm feeling so bad about it. But when I look down and I'm like, I'm missing a freaking leg. I'm dyslexic. I have a learning disability and I'm trying to teach myself. Like that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like there's no way for me to teach myself. And so when I see that I'm missing a leg, all of a sudden I feel so proud that I'm on the field.
Yeah.
I'm on the same race as you suckers. You have 2 legs. I'm killing it. I may not be up where you're at, but I'm overcoming so much to just be on this track.
Yep.
Like I'm doing this. And so there was so much compassion when I acknowledged what was actually happening. And then I reframed my entire view of myself.
Yep.
Because of that. And so I often work with like my clients on that, like, is there a chance that you have a limp or there's something happening that actually it's pretty incredible that you're pushing through that?
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say before we end this episode on capacity is you can't future trip about capacity. You can't think like, oh my gosh, I can't handle my life. How am I going to handle it if I have another kid? Or how am I going to handle it if I get sick? Or because capacity grows in every season. Mm-hmm. So like now I do more things for my mom than I did years ago.
Yep.
But I've now adjusted to a new capacity. All my friends with kids say this, like with 1 kid, their capacity stretches. With 2 kids, their capacity stretches. Pretty soon they have 3 or 4 kids and they laugh that 1 kid was hard.
Yep.
Why? Because every year your capacity stretches. And when you go through hard seasons, your capacity grows, and it's part of the thing that enables you as you're older to have peace. Like, I've been through that. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. And so capacity has elasticity.
Ooh.
Okay. Capacity is elastic.
Yeah.
It stretches. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we have to understand. When we get connected to the reality of our capacity, we also get to get connected with the reality that it's going to continually grow.
Yeah.
Because it is elastic.
And my capacity may be bigger now than it ever was, but it may still feel small because there's like my chronic health issues are still taking up a huge chunk of my capacity.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn to accept the limitations on my capacity.
And then you can celebrate yourself in that.
And celebrate. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is my part of this. To wrap all this into a bundle, like really when we're talking about looking honestly at our capacity, it's an introduction to a word called grace.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, that's what grace is. Grace is I am entering into a clearer understanding of my situation as well as someone else's situation. But I'm looking honestly at my capacity. I'm looking honestly at someone else's capacity. And I'm seeking to understand, what capacity we do or do not have. And in seeking to understand, I'm able to give grace. And when Abby's talking about not future tripping, she's saying, you don't have the grace for that. Like right now, because if I start imagining a life with 5 kids, that would overwhelm me because I don't have the grace for that. Grace is built. Grace is this thing inside of us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so part of our challenge for everyone listening today is to stop and start taking an inventory.
Yes.
Where are the places that I'm judging myself, thinking that I should have more capacity than I do?
That I should be farther than I am.
Mm-hmm. And begin to ask yourself, Well, what is my current season that I'm in? What is my current historic circumstance that I've been inside of? Should I actually already be here?
What are the things that have taken from my capacity? Can I acknowledge that I've actually overcome some really huge things? Can I acknowledge and celebrate how far I am right now?
Mm-hmm. And then some of you might actually see something and go, oh, I have a bigger capacity than I know.
Yep.
And I haven't been living up to that capacity.
Absolutely.
I've been living incredibly defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And scared.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for me to face some fears and realize that
do stuff
and do some stuff and get something done and experience life. Because I think that the idea, I mean, I'll tie it into this. I think if we're made in the image of our creator is unconditional love and is a creator. And I think that part of the emotional component of being a beer is connecting to love for ourself, and part of the doing is part of the creative part of ourself. And I think that we need to be able to marry the two of those, loving ourselves and creating. And again, like Abby said, there's ebbs and flows to what that looks like. But if I'm not creating and I'm only just like sitting around emotionally loving myself, then I'm missing something, and vice versa.
And that's not actually loving yourself.
No, it's not.
Loving yourself should lead
is leading to expressing ourselves and creating from ourselves, and creating can come through many different avenues.
To end this, I got something.
No, I want to talk about what we're releasing right now. Can I talk about that?
Before we do that,
okay,
I want to do this one thing.
Okay,
I don't know if you like it or not.
I might not.
I want to start where I just tell you a couple of things I'm thankful for as a doer, and then you can tell me a couple of things you're thankful for as a beer.
Oh.
So here we go.
Oh, so you're fishing for a compliment. Okay.
No, I think it'd be good.
No, that was great. That was a way to work it in there.
People loved when we validated each other on the anger episode, and I thought it'd be great for them to hear how we do this. So, Justin, I'm so thankful for all of the ways that you have taught me to face life head on, for your can-do attitude, for the mentality that like life is not hard. We can figure out a way around obstacles. I'm so thankful that you don't have defeat, that watching you has empowered me and has made me feel more strong and has made me feel more courageous and has made me feel like I had more to give. And I'm really thankful. I have learned so much from your ability to put defeat and fear aside and to actually push through. And there's so many areas in my life that are thriving because you challenged me to show up in life more, because you challenged me to not be defeated, because you challenged me to not just think and feel and get trapped on the inside, but actually do something with my life. I so admire, like the truth is we have great experiences because of your doer. Wow. We experience more peace in our life, like because you've taught me how to care about taking care of our house. We have more peace because it's clean, because you make plans for our trips. We have more fun on trips because we actually have set things up. You have created a life where there's so much that I get to enjoy because of being a doer and because of learning to partner with that. It has actually enabled more fun. Where I used to judge you and think that you were the fun stealer, I've actually learned to see that you as a doer has added to our capacity to have fun and enjoy life. So I wanted to thank you. You've taught me so much, and it's so valuable. Wow.
All right. So let me see if I can match that.
You're just competitive. You want to beat me.
The doer inside of me wants to compete and beat you at this. I want to say thank you for being a compass that pointed me to abundant life and pointed me out of the jail cell that I was locked inside of my soul, because of your ability to celebrate just being. There was grace and compassion for me to enter into the scariest parts of my heart and to not believe that I was a failure for doing so. Your capacity to be a beer made room for me to overcome the lie that I wasn't enough as a man, because you had an ability to just celebrate me as I was, not for how much money I could provide or stability in those ways. Like you were just celebrating who Justin authentically was. Your ability to be taught me how to not only connect deeper into my heart than ever before, but take the gift of relating to people that was in my life, and it gave it an avenue to be maximized so that I could actually do much of what I do inside of my office in my work. Like it gave me an avenue to know people and connect closer to people. And what it really did is it shattered your value for being and value for me taking time to be, shattered the chasm. It built a bridge, I guess is a better way to say it. It built a bridge to the island of isolation that I was living on inside of my soul, and said, hey, there's a way to get off of it. You're not alone. You don't have to live alone anymore. Because all of a sudden, nurturing was able to make its way in, and compassion was able to make its way into my life, and relationships with people that there was a distance in. All of a sudden, there was no longer a distance because I wasn't lost doing. I was actually in the middle of connecting and being present with people. And part of that also, thank you for being a beer, because what it did is it pointed me towards dreams inside of my heart that I wasn't aware of. And all of a sudden, once I could be with myself, I could see the dreams and desires, the longings inside of me. I could connect with my authentic creativity. And out of it was birthed all kinds of happiness. Out of it was birthed a book. Out of it was birthed podcast. Out of it was birthed dreams, vision for life. Like so much got birthed out of it because there was someone who was safe enough inside of my personal space to allow me to just be me for a season. And out of that, I also want to say that I got connected back to my childlike wonder and my childlike innocence. And that was super profound because I got my childhood redeemed inside of it. And I was able to see, probably lastly, the Father's affections. Like all of a sudden I could enter into connection with my Creator, not based on everything that I thought that I could do for Him, but it was based on the idea of, oh no, I was made to be loved and to receive love. And that message really got in when I was just being and just receiving love from you and learning how to now do that with other people. And really, you were the mirror reflection of God's love to me in a tangible way that left me feeling settled inside of my soul, getting off of a religious hamster wheel and just getting to now be in life and experience the world that's right in front of me. So thank you for that.
You little mushy.
Also, you won.
So let me say this.
You're not going to one up me. No, stop that crap. We got to end this anyways.
I just wanted to say that you have empowered, the doer side of you has empowered me to actually dream dreams with real hope. Because before,
it wasn't just an idea any longer.
I had dreams, but I was never going to actually do them. There was a subconscious part of me that felt hopeless about every dream because there was no way to give it legs.
So fantasy became reality?
Yeah, you gave me so much hope. There was freedom from self-worth issues. There was freedom from self-hatred issues. There's freedom from defeat. So I could go on. I do want to beat you, but I'm not going to.
Wow. Well, I mean, what I do here is I'm pretty awesome. And
You're the
best. So anyways.
We have an announcement.
We have an announcement. Big announcement. Oh my gosh.
I'm pregnant.
No, don't do that. We're not. There's no child on the way. We are not that. But we are pregnant with a project.
I'm birthing
a project
with you.
The Father Series is being released June 16th. Now, what's the Father Series? The Father Series is a 12-part audio e-course that can be downloaded online. And with it, we created this workbook that's a 140-page workbook that when you buy this, jump on and buy this 12-part e-course, you get this in-depth workbook. And we spent over 250 hours working on this workbook and sculpting and resculpting it so that we could take some of the beautiful information that we got inside of the Father Series.
Well, it's really all the questions that we do in sessions. We've met with thousands of people, and everybody has issues connected to their dad. everyone. And the reason we've done that is because we had issues connected to our dad. We got healing. It transformed our life. But so we took these questions and the journey that we lead people on, because it's not only you've got to acknowledge your pain, then you got to know what to do with it.
Well, hold on a second. It was our dream.
Yeah.
It was our dream to actually restore people back to their, bring healing in the places where they've had shattered parts of their heart with their dads,
100%.
or unknown pain that they don't know.
Yeah.
And there's so much that dictates our life based on our relationship with our dad, and oftentimes we're unaware of it. And sometimes our experience in childhood didn't seem all that traumatizing or all that problematic.
Felt great.
And so a lot of people are living out their life currently in a certain way based on all the experiences they had with their dad. So our dream was to create something that would help resolve that, heal the human condition, and empower people to be who they were made to be.
I always say it's like doing counseling for like 6 months. It really is. 6 months to a year we put into this course. We put so many different things to help you, so many different tools, so many different things to walk it out. We have a list of movies to watch to see what good fathers looks like. Like there's questions to, if you actually want to work on your relationship with your dad.
Yeah, there's literally practical ways to go have conversations that you've never had with your dad.
There's
now
things
you can
to
go
do
have
if
them.
You can't have conversations with your dad. Like it really, I feel so proud of this thing.
Yeah.
And we've had people do it. We had a trial run and people loved it.
And I'm okay with actually saying this, like across the board, people came back after going through it saying this changed my entire life.
Yeah.
This literally healed my relationship with my family, my father, my spouse, because I got dealt with the stuff that needed to be dealt with.
And it just helps you understand how humans work. So even if you don't have huge things that you think for you, if you're a father, you should do it. If you're a mother, you should do it, because your family system affects how you parent. We're going to have a special small group price so people can do it in small groups. We had several small groups do it together, and it's really easy. You listen to the audio and then you answer some questions. Yeah. And it makes working through healing simple.
Yeah. So you're going to go to justinandabby.com. ABI, justinandabby.com. And there's a pre-order button from now until June 16th. And June 16th is Father's Day. And right after Father's Day, we'll begin the process of shipping out the workbook.
And why do you want to pre-order, Justin?
Because you can save $20 on this baby. Right now, you can save $20.
This is what I tell people. It's basically the cost of one counseling session.
Yep.
For 6 months to a year's worth of
counseling.
Yep.
And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make that easily available.
Accessible.
Like, if I don't have the money to go to counseling on a regular basis, I can actually do something for the cost of one session.
Yeah.
With somebody.
We're so excited. I don't like promoting things, but I have no problem promoting this.
I don't either have a problem with this one.
This is going to make people's lives better. It's a beautiful book. We've spent so much time on it. The audio series, it's fun. It's funny. We do lots of banter. You have lots of great stories. Anyway, you're going to love it.
So, justinandabby.com, you can go there. And then, if you guys got touched by anything here today, go rate, review, subscribe, and share.
2 seconds to rate. Now, this is what I say. I would love it if you write a story about honoring your capacity or valuing your capacity or something. Put it on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, some kind of place where you actually are valuing yourself in this season after listening to this, and you actually tag us in it.
Yeah.
If there's something to
hashtag the connected life.
Hashtag the connected life.
Or hashtag the connected life podcast.
Yes. And share it with people. That's the one thing we ask for. We do this for free. Share it with people. Like and review. It takes like 2 seconds.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today. And peace out.
Peace out.